going to be affordable housing. But it transpires that all of these houses, not one sign was for sale to the public. So they went on building and building and building these properties, billions and billions of pounds. Then they bring people from London and put them inside there. These people have no work in this area. There's nothing to offer them, no industry. Then the banks come along and trap them in there. We need to do something to give these people the right to buy these properties. There's no money to give it to them, there's no money to take them over, but we could actually get these people to buy it. Give them even if it's for a 40-year mortgage, go and knock on each one of those doors and ask that person, do you want to stay renting here forever, or do you want to buy this slowly? Everyone here would love to own their own property. This old socialist idea of that we're going to build billions and billions of council houses post-war is not possible. After the war, there was hundreds of thousands of people who learned the trade skills during the wartime, became engineers, builders, bricklayers, and those people, their skills were then used to build all these houses. So I want to try and confront this problem where people are becoming slaves of the banking system. That's the first question. It's a big question. The second one is the exploitation of our children going to university. You know, go and study media studies, go and study this gender studies or whatever that have absolutely no use at all. If I was a banker and I wanted to sell my product, I would say, I've got a loan, £50,000, you can borrow this money and go and study some stupid, ridiculous course that will give you no value. I'm 56 years old, I work as a plumber. The average plumber is 50 years old. Who's going to do this job in 20 years' time? These working class people, they go to college. My daughter, I encouraged her to study as an electrician because it's phase one of her life. After that, she can go to university as a qualified electrician. But these young children are being encouraged to go to university to subsidise these massive building projects and tower blocks they're building all over these university towns and putting our children in there to pay the bankers with their student loans. So the bankers lend the money to the students pay rent to the bankers' properties. So they keep it in both directions. Something has to change. Working class people go to college, Crawley College, it's in poverty, you know, so you get working class people to go and study to become electricians or plumbers. They go inside there and you know what? Out of 40 people on the electrical course, 30 drop out. Because they're working class people, they haven't got money to live. You know, the children, the young people are suffering. The bankers come in again, and then they say, right, to insure a motor car, £2,000 for a 21-year-old. How can they get a head start? How are we going to combat that? We can combat that locally. There's got to be some sort of movement to get these people active. All of these people have no voice. That's what I want to say. And it's...
Said it very well, indeed. You call it mortgage, but in fact it's a French word, or two French words, mort-gage. Mort means death, and gauge means grip. A mortgage is the grip of death, literally. That's what the word means when translated from French. I urge you to think again in your disdain for what you call the old socialist idea of building council houses. We strongly support the building of council houses, and we utterly deplore the kind of housing developments that you talk of quite powerfully that are supposed to be for social housing but are priced at a level that the society cannot afford, and either are used as mere investments where hot money, England, London being the hot money capital of the world, money that was stolen by politicians in Bangladesh or Nigeria or many other countries around the world, stolen, corrupt money, hot money, is parked in property here in which no one will ever live. I could take you to some of the finest properties in London which have never felt a human breath inside them. They are merely there to grow and grow and grow as a capital investment by people who don't need them as homes because they don't live there. This whole housing situation, Linda has actually referred to it in her rather fine leaflet here. Second point, her second point is to tackle Crawley's growing housing crisis. And whilst I support the idea that you expressed, that will not be sufficient. The reason I grew up in a council house, well, I was born into a slum dwelling which was knocked down and a council house was provided. I can still smell it. And the value of council housing is that you get to elect your landlord. And nothing keeps your landlord on their toes more than knowing that they've got to get re-elected as your landlord. It gives the tenants power, political power, if they are organised and prepared to use it. So we favour a mix. I don't live in a council house anymore. I live in a mortgaged house. Well, my wife's got a mortgage. I'm too old to get a mortgage. But the mix that we favour is private rented, owner occupied, and public housing, council housing. There is nothing wrong with council housing. And if the people hold their landlord's feet to the fire, it can be better still. So we favour a mixed economy in general. Some things are too important to be left to the private sector. Some things are too specialised to be given to the public sector. We favour a mixed economy. And part of that mixed economy is a mixture of housing tenure. But I do think, and here we'll probably disagree, that to invest 40% in some cases of your income in being an owner-occupier actually doesn't make any sense. Not for you and not for the economy as a whole. Our economy is far too dependent on ever-rising house prices. That money would be better employed rebuilding our industries in which the working class would find a role. And I turn therefore to your first and very important point. I never went to university. I've never been a student. I worked from leaving school at 16 until now. I'm still paying taxes, big taxes, at the age of 70. And I started paying taxes after leaving school at the age of 16. So I was never a student. But I did pay for other people to be students. I paid for Tony Blair to be a student at Oxford University. I even paid so that he could get paid a grant to go to Oxford University. And as soon as these people got into power, they kicked away the ladder up which they had themselves climbed. So that my children, if they go to university, will now be saddled with tens, scores of thousands of pounds worth of debt because of tuition fees. I was a member of Parliament when tuition fees were introduced, and I refused to vote for it. It was in the first year of Tony Blair's government. I was a Labour MP, and I remember very well the Chief Whip, Nick Brown, whatever happened to him, standing at the gangway trying to block me from going into the lobby to vote against it. He said these words, "It's only £1,000. And I said, but once you breach the principle, that £1,000 will become £10,000. Now it's more than £10,000. So I oppose the reintroduction of tuition fees, and we oppose it as a party still. But I absolutely agree with you. There are people going to university learning junk that is of no use to them and no use to the rest of us. And they're leaving with huge debt burdens around their neck, with degrees in things that will never get them a job. Will never get them a job that was worth spending 3 years, even 4 years at a university to learn. Whereas the skill shortage we've got, that you described so well, is a ticking time bomb for us. When you retire as a plumber, who's going to be the plumber? It used to be a Polish man, but he's gone back to Poland because Poland's doing better than us. He was only here because we were doing better than them. Now they're doing better than us. Who's going to be the plumbers, the electricians, the bricklayers, the joiners? Who's going to be the tradesmen and women of the future? Partly, we're not having enough children. Partly, we don't want mass immigration. So how's it going to be fixed? It has to be made much more attractive for young people to decide, instead of going to a Mickey Mouse university, and some of them are Mickey Mouse universities. Hope that doesn't sound snobbish. I speak as someone who never went to any university, Mickey Mouse or otherwise. To learn a subject that will be of no use to them, it would be far better for them and far better for the rest of us if they went to a well-funded college, got a grant to go to a well-funded college, and came out as a technician, as a tradesman, as a person who can do actual things and for which there is a need in the wider economy.